You are listening to a Fonts Media Network production.
Hello, World Ablaze listeners. In this episode, I welcome Aaron Deshotel. He is a chef and the host of the I Had to Say It podcast. Aaron and I had a great discussion about life, working in the events and service industry, podcasting, and being a Gen Xer. Aaron has a no bullshit approach that he applies to various topics on his podcast, especially when it comes to current events and politics. As I said earlier, Aaron and I had a great conversation that I think that you're going to really enjoy. Anyway, as we were riffing earlier, thanks for coming on, Aaron. Deshotel, is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
All right. So I've come across on X a few times because you interact with Whiskey Hell quite a bit.
You're good guys.
Yeah, I interact with them as well, for sure. And they are good guys. But it got me to listening to your podcast, and I'm like, this guy at times could literally be almost my twin, you know? And I love your no bullshit approach. Like the way you just go after it. You call things for what it is and how you see it. You're not afraid to speak your mind. And I was like, I got to talk to you. I mean, this is we need more of it. We need more of it.
Yeah. I'm inclined to agree with you on that one. And thank you. I appreciate that. And actually I did, I've gone through and I've been listening to your show too. And I was like, yeah, you know what? This is going to work. This is somebody I can talk to, and it's one of those things. It's like, I feel like we're roughly pretty close to the same age too. So that might have something to do with it.
Yeah. I believe we are.
I picked that up because, now my brain the episode I was listening to last night, actually, I was driving home. It was a guest spot. You guys started out the episode smoking cigars.
Oh, with Ryan Macbeth.
Ryan, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm like, at some point in there, you guys mentioned, he said he's getting ready to turn 50 and you said you're catching up to him. I'm like, I'm a couple of years out myself. So I'm roughly in the same ballpark. And
yeah, we are. Actually, You know what? I just realized, Aaron, I mentioned your podcast, but your podcast is I Had to Say It. And I have to say what your podcast is. So the title is I Had to Say It. And first, before we move on, Aaron, I'm just going to tell everybody right now, if you listen to me, you got to listen to Aaron. I think you're going to like it. I think Aaron comes off like a rapid fire. I have a hard time keeping up with you sometimes because you just spit it out, man. But you're on point the whole time, which is crazy.
I appreciate that. It's the funny thing is, occasionally I'll get people that where like I start interacting, like whether it's over like a Zoom call like this or a Teams meeting or in person or in real life, and people are like, I thought that might be just a lot of editing, but you really are like this. And I'm like, when I get rolling, I can be. I am very verbose. I'm very comfortable speaking my mind, obviously. That's the other thing. I got a lot of people that have heard the podcast and been like, I don't know how you could do that. And like, I haven't, ever since I launched the show, I haven't really I haven't been one of the people like, oh, I have to maintain anonymity. This could come back and bite me in the ass. I've had a lot of people like, dude, you can't say that. I'm like, yeah, I can actually. At the end of the day, I still believe that we'd be a lot better off if people were more forthright and more honest. Being artificially fake, artificially fake that's redundant. Being artificially polite, there's a time and a place for decorum and proper manners. And like, I was raised very strictly, this is appropriate. This is not. Contrary to the image I portray in a lot of ways through my show, I'm actually very good at dealing with situations where you have to be proper and well behaved and well mannered, and I won't lean on a table because at one point I did that in front of my grandmother and she cracked me in the elbow with a soup spoon. So I do know how to be proper and prim and professional when it's required. But on the other side of the coin, I do believe that a lot of this falsehood that we put forward due to societal pressures and people, oh, well, that hurts my feelings and I'm offended. Well, at the end of the day, maybe you need to be offended because people lying to each other and equivocating because they're afraid of social stigma. They're afraid of the backlash. They're afraid of somebody getting bent out of shape. They're indulging the proclivities of people to be like, my feelings and my values are more important than yours. So you can't say these things because I'm going to get butthurt about it and I'm going to throw a fit. And we've allowed it to get to the point where you don't know what you're actually dealing with. And that pisses me off more than anything else, because in a lot of ways, I am a very, like, what you see is what you get. No bullshit, no equivocation. You know exactly where you stand with me. If I like you, I mean, I'm still going to talk crap about you, because I think that's just our generation. You talk shit about your friends.
Yeah.
That's normal to me. I don't believe that you would be like, oh, well, no, that's my best friend. I would never say anything about my bestie. Man, I will say 6 mean things about my best friend to his face, 3 more to his wife, and he will come right back and make fun of my hairline, which is, as you can see, non-existent. The listeners can't see it. I have a very shiny head, and I forgot to put my hat on, so it's glaring into the camera. That's because, thanks to some wonderful genetics, every man on my mom's side of the family has that George Costanza toilet bowl haircut.
George Costanza.
And I'm not rocking that look. I'm not a Friar Tuck. I'm not doing the fringe. So it's just, I'm clean shaven. I'm thankful I have a good shaped head, which, despite all the childhood trauma of being Gen X and, like, not wearing a helmet to ride a bicycle and running into trees and playing football and all that other stuff, I still came out with a good shaped head. So, count my blessings.
Well, don't worry. I'm hiding my baldness under my hat as well. So.
Well, like I said, I usually try to just to be polite and not have the gleam in the camera, but
listen, the challenges of a bald man, I swear, people do not get it. They just don't get it.
No, they really don't. And unfortunately, again, family trait, I've been shaving my head for 20 friggin' years at this point, and when I was younger, particularly when I was like in my early 20s, just a little background information. I'm a chef, right? I've been working in the service industry, culinary industry for almost 30 years at this point. Started when I was a teenager, just doubled down and went into it like hardcore in my early 20s. I also was really like more so in my 20s than my teens. I really got into weightlifting, weight training, fighting. I would bounce on the weekends just because I was like, oh, gee, it's not enough that I work 14 hours a day. I need to do something at night too to keep myself out of trouble. So I would bounce at night. And so you get this big kind of grumpy, kind of chiseled, bald guy walking around who happens to be pasty white because he never sees the sun, because during the day he's in a kitchen and at night he's in a bar. And a lot of people would make assumptions about my demeanor, people I associated with, who I was. And they'd be like, big bald white guy. Bet he's racist as shit. And I'm like, if you look at my friends group of people I grew up with, I mean, and again, I think this is really our generation was kind of one of those, like, we didn't care about dumb shit. It was, if you were cool, we'd hang out with you. If you weren't cool, we'd make you cry.
Yeah. And, I mean, you're right on. That's the truth. That's how I grew up. It's
like, dude, we like doing X, Y, and Z. You like doing that too? Okay, come along. Yes, so I'm going to make fun of your glasses. I'm going to make fun of your haircut. And I'm going to make fun of, your waistline, but I'm not the other crap we can't. And, I've never cared, but a lot of people make assumptions about me. Cause like I said, big, bald, white dude, you must be racist. Well, like, no,
I've gotten that too. Yeah. I've gotten that too, Aaron. And you know what? I just learned, just be yourself, man. If you're a good person, people eventually see it. And if they don't, honestly, they didn't need to be in your life.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's just bottom line. Really.
I completely agree with you. I won a lot of people over just by being me. I mean, I am boisterous. I am loud. I am opinionated, which again, everything you'll hear if you listen to my podcast, that's maybe a little bit of amplification just for effect, but that's really how I am pretty much across the board. Again, like I said, I can turn it off if the situation arises. If I'm talking to somebody that's like way more important than I am, if I'm dealing with clients, customers, patrons, my boss, HR. Well, actually, no, I shouldn't say that because I'm absolutely horrible to our HR lady. But fortunately, she's pretty cool. So because she gives it right back. I mean,
she's old school then too, right?
Oh yeah, like very much so. She's just like, you can't say that. That's completely inappropriate. I said, you're smiling. I'm not in trouble. And I'll walk away.
Oh, man. Aaron, I got to ask you, man, because I think a lot of us independent podcasters, we got in this for other reasons. But why'd you start getting behind a mic and press and record? What led to that?
COVID. That's the short form answer of it. I have been honestly kicking around the idea of launching a podcast since like 2013, 2014, like the early days before it
was actually popular.
Yeah. And I was doing it because, like I said, I'm a chef. That's my chosen career path. That's the life path I took. But in my developmental years, I was really into computers. I was one of those like mid 90s text-based 28.8 dial-up internet geeks.
Yep.
The funny thing was, in my situation, I was also on the football team, and like I said, weight training, and I wasn't like a track person. I throw the heavies. I wasn't a runner, but I also happened to be like honors classes, geeky. I was in band. I was in yearbook. But on the other hand, I was like, go ahead and say something. Give me shit about it. I want you to.
Right.
So I was really into like the internet pretty much from the time it started being a thing. So I was aware of podcasts just via that. And I was kind of like, this is kind of cool. You put out these little like pseudo radio shows. And I was actually kind of looking at going into broadcasting when I first graduated from high school. That's a bit of an exaggeration too. When I first graduated from high school, originally, I was actually, the first time I went to college, I was going to be a finance major in pre-law and then be a financial lawyer, which I realized really quickly that like family oriented life path that like my forebears decided was what Aaron should do with his life was not what I wanted to do. So I kind of walked away from that. But at the same time, it was like I was debating going into broadcasting before I decided, you know what? I've been working in kitchens all this time. I think I'm going to run with that. I think I'd make a good chef. And so I was thinking about doing radio. And then I was like, well, this podcasting thing's kind of cool. And I have like a lot of my friends, particularly in my early to mid 20s, which, we're back at that timetable. All these guys were like, dude, you tell great stories. You should do this. You should do that. And then podcasting starts becoming a thing. And they're like, dude, you should start a podcast. You'd kill it. You could just get on there and crack jokes and And I'm like, yeah, I don't have the time because at that point I was starting to get into like just got married, dealing with a family. Like, I don't have time to sit down and record shit. I don't have time to tell stories into a microphone and then try and make it sound good and edit it and clean all that up. Because like I said, since I had kind of looked at going into broadcasting, I was slightly aware of the process. I mean, not super well educated on it, but enough to be aware that it was more work than I had time to commit to it. I had a kid to raise. I had a wife to keep from lighting me on fire in my sleep. I was busy. And then like I said, I was after kicking the idea around for a few years, and it came up actually on my Facebook memories the other day. I made a post like 3 years before I actually started the show, like, hey, what would you guys think if I started doing this here? And here's a list of names. You guys should vote on the names of what you think would be a good name for a podcast by Aaron. And this was right around the time like Rogan was really starting to take off and all that stuff. So like 2018-ish. And so again, I got some responses. One of the names was actually pretty close to I Had to Say It, which was it was one of the contenders was It Has to Be Said. And I was like, it's almost, but not right. And so I've been kicking it around for, like I said, forever basically. And then COVID happened and I got laid off because, like I said, culinary industry. 2020 pretty much put my line of work into the ICU. I mean, none of us had jobs. And
I can relate. I'll get into that later, but I can relate to that.
But so 2020 rolled around and I was actually very fortunate because the company I was working for at the time, It's big national contract company, multiple divisions, literally thousands and thousands of employees. A lot of them, including some of my coworkers from my unit, all got laid off. And then a small percentage of the staff was furloughed instead of laid off. So I was one of the people that got furloughed. Thankfully for my situation, it worked out fantastically. Because the timing was like perfect. I didn't get furloughed until March of 2020. So the initial burst of COVID where everybody else was getting shut down, I managed to avoid because I had actually been farmed out from my facility to another facility to help them implement a catering program. And then I was the general manager at that facility was going to be going on maternity leave. So the plan was I would take over the facility when she went on maternity leave after I set up their new catering program for them. And that facility was involved in producing like hand sanitizers and stuff when there was a huge demand for all that. Actually an alcohol bottling facility, but they switched several of their production lines over to hand sanitizer.
Yeah. Even a lot of distillers did that during that time so they can stay relevant and afloat and pay their bills.
Yeah. And that's exactly, this company was bottling for those distillers. So they would take the big vats and break it down into gallon bottles. And yeah, it was an interesting time in my life. And so I thought I was going to be okay. And
so at what point during all this, like, did you just have time on your hands and you're like, I'm going to finally just start this? Is that how that came about?
Honestly, it wasn't even that. It was, like I said, I got furloughed. So all of a sudden I went from having somewhere to be to every day. And the thing is, the company I was working for had a thing where I still had to get up in the morning and log into this app that they put together to check and see if any of the facilities within 25 miles of my home account needed people for that day. And if they did, as a furloughed employee, I had to say I am available for work, because as a furloughed employee, they kept my benefits active, and so I didn't have to worry about like my insurance and all that stuff. So I had insurance the entire time, which was perfect because my wife actually went in for knee surgery the day after I got furloughed. So, and they told me it was going to be 2 to 3 weeks. I was like, this is great. I can take 2 to 3 weeks off, stay home with my wife, take care of her while she's recuperating, and then go back to work and everything will be fine. And it turned into like 9 months. So after like 5 or 6 weeks of sitting around the house, getting up at 4:30 in the morning every day, logging into this app to go, yep, everybody within 25 miles of my unit still closed because we were all in the same division and everybody was furloughed. So all of those units were closed. So I knew nobody was working. So nobody was going to need me, but I still had to get up and log in. So it showed that I logged in. And I would get up in the morning and then like let the dog out and drink a cup of coffee. And I was just sitting there like doing nothing, watching the news, watching TV, going stir crazy because I didn't have anybody to talk to other than my wife. And we kind of ran out of things to talk about because all we did was sit around and stare at each other all day. So I was like, I need to do something. This is driving me crazy. And, I was kind of hemming and hawing, and, I go from being out interacting with people every day to seeing, just like I said, just my wife, and occasionally my kid would come by the house, but by that point he had actually moved out. So, it was very frustrating. And then I was apparently driving her crazy because she went online and got me an early birthday present and bought me a microphone and a little sound card adapter thing to plug into my computer. And she was like, here, you need to use this. You know that podcast you've been talking about? You need to start that podcast because you need to talk to somebody other than me because you're driving me freaking nuts. And I was like, okay, I love you.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Well, what do you say to that? Like, okay, yes, dear. I mean,
yeah, right. It's like, you're driving me crazy. Go talk to this mic.
Yeah, exactly. Go talk to random people on the internet and leave me the hell alone. Take your ranting, crazy, complaining ass in the other room. Close the door so I don't have to hear it.
It's almost like saying, tell someone who gives a damn.
Yeah, it was a really nice way of her telling me to go tell somebody that gives a damn. And what can I say? I don't blame her. She was not wrong. I really did need to just start venting my spleen a little bit, because that's the other thing about working in the service industry. I'm used to being around a lot of people when I'm not in the customer facing side of things, that it's a different environment. I mean, I know most people do at least touch in the service industry briefly when they're younger or whatever. But when you get around a bunch of career culinary people, like lifers, people who have made this their thing, there's something wrong with us. I say that all the time. I worked at a culinary school for years, and I would tell like the incoming freshman classes, like, if there's not something wrong with you before you signed up for these classes, there will be something wrong with you by the time you get that diploma.
Well, I say that. Okay. What's funny, this is where the relation comes into what you said earlier, because I am in the events industry too. My company, that's what I do, is event production. And we're the guys that do all the hanging speakers, the lights, the stages. We do that. We do drapes, chandelier. We do all kinds of crazy stuff, man.
I know exactly what you're saying, because I've worked with a lot of you guys.
Exactly. We do some of the same.
I was a catering
events.
specialist for years. So
yeah,
that was with the company I was working for. That was literally my job title, was catering specialist.
Well, I was going to say is I feel like that, like the events industry in general, so you call it service events, whatever. It's literally, sometimes I feel like it's just made up of a bunch of misfits who said, no, I don't want to adhere to society. I don't want to do it your way. And it feels that way.
There's a lot of like, there's something wrong with us.
Yeah, a little bit.
We're working when everybody else is playing. We're out here and we shall not conform. It's a truth. It's
no, it is
one of many things I found. I mean, it's kind of funny. I'm actually, at this point in my life, I've managed to avoid a lot of the less pleasant stereotypes, I guess, of the service industry. I didn't develop any kind of major drug habits. I mean, like, after you get to a certain point as a chef, you either have gone one of two routes, and you're either like a full-blown alcoholic or you're a recovering alcoholic. And
it's a lifestyle, though, right?
It's hard.
The late nights, like crazy long nights, the hours are insane. And then by the time you get home, everyone's asleep or there's no one around, so it's just you.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a hard life to live, man. Because like, same thing on our side. I'm not lying to you, Aaron. We're literally working 18 hours a day. Sometimes we pull our 24-hour shifts where you don't get any sleep. You're dealing with shady promoters that can't even go out of their way to budget enough to get you a hotel room, or even union labor when it's supposed to be a union house. And all of a sudden, oh yeah, they're off. It's just you two guys that have to do the whole thing. It's like, really? And we've been through the whole thing too. So, and it's like when you said, when your industry got shut down. I mean, that was us. We all of a sudden, hey, COVID's here. You can't do anything. Well, what do I do about all these bills here to keep my business open? Not our problem. You got to stop the spread. Okay, so now what?
Yeah, I empathize. I feel your pain, brother. It's and like I said, working as I did, like I said, on the catering side of special events things, I've seen the work you're talking about. I respect the hell out of it. I've seen setup and teardowns that, and sometimes I was working in facilities, sometimes I was working in stuff where, like, with some of my jobs, I was doing things like with colleges or with city officials where it's like, we're setting up for 25,000 people to be at this function.
Yep.
I mean, you guys are heroes. I can coordinate my brigade, and we'll have 50,000 sandwiches and 100,000 sides done before the doors open. But that's just preparation and repetition. You guys are doing all the brutal stuff.
Yeah, but I feel like if you're in events and you're in service, man, there's a camaraderie regardless. It doesn't matter if you're a chef, you're an AV guy. It doesn't matter. We're all going through the same crap. We're all taking shit. We're all getting talked down to. We're all having these crazy expectations put on us, all because client X can't afford to pay for 4 days that we need to set up and do our jobs. It all has to be done in 2. Oh, and by the way, you got to get everything out after the event. When does the event end? Oh, 2 a.m. Oh, okay.
Yep. And we got something else going on at 9:30.
Exactly.
So, yeah. You're talking my language. I get it. I have definitely, I've been there. I feel your pain. It's, there's something special about us. I'll say that.
I'll just say we're different.
Yeah. Different's a good word for it.
We're a little different. So did you, so how did you feel when
and we thrive on it, which is just,
well, we actually do. Somehow it feeds us. I don't understand it, but I'll be honest, Aaron, as I've done this for so many years and I've owned my business going on 27 years, I'm kind of getting tired, man. I really am. But, until I could find the exit strategy, I'm still in it. And it's not like I hate doing it. It's just, I think I'm just physically getting worn down. After a while, there's so much that your body can do. And then you're just like, it's getting hard to stay up till 2 a.m, man. It's like, I can't be driving back to the shop at 2 a.m. and getting home at 8 a.m. A lot of those nights are I think a lot of those days are getting behind me, but, and I'm sure you probably feel the same way a lot of times now. You have to.
I'll be honest. I found the cheat code.
Did you? What is it?
For my industry.
Oh, okay.
For being a chef, I should say. I found the cheat code. I went into corporate services. A few years back, right before COVID hit. I got a corporate services job Monday through Friday with very minimal exceptions. The downside was I had to be to work at 4:45 in the morning. Yeah. The upside was I was home by like 3.
Yeah. So that's nice. That's nice.
And I had weekends and it was,
you know what? That's the thing a lot of people don't understand about us. Like you got into corporate services, you got that schedule, but before then, like I missed every holiday, every birthday, every celebration. What people don't understand about guys like us is when you're celebrating, the reason you have all these amenities is because we're working that day.
Oh, without a doubt. And then I don't know how it is for you, but I found the backside of that on my coin was on the rare occasion where I wasn't humping on one of those days, I would get some jackass family member like, "Hey, you're a chef. Oh. You want to help me cook? We're having 100 people over at my house for the 4th of July. You want to come over and barbecue?" No.
Yeah, you're like, I do that every day.
As a matter of fact, I don't. You remember when we were kids and I used to shove your head in the fucking toilet? Guess what's happening again if I come to your house?
Oh, what's crazy is
put one of those blue pucks in there too. I want the water to look like grandma's house.
What's crazy is my original pathway. There was 2, but originally I actually wanted to be a chef and I wanted to go to the San Francisco Culinary Institute. And the only reason that never happened is I couldn't get the finances to do it. And then I veered into other directions because, like you said, you were in band. I don't know what instrument did you play?
Let's see. Primary instrument, I played trumpet in the actual school band. I also played guitar, keyboards, harmonica.
Awesome.
Everybody in my family plays at least 2 instruments.
Oh, nice, man.
It's a family thing.
Yeah, so I was a drummer, and then so I got out of that and progressed into music, and then got into being a sound engineer, recording studios, all et cetera, and then it just kind of just went that direction. And then one day I was just like, yeah, I'm playing all over the place in this band. We're traveling, playing at the Whiskey, you name it, all these big clubs. We're starting to get our name out there, and then I was like, but until we make it, it's not happening. And it's costing me to do these gigs. And I can go on the weekend, provide some services, and make some actual money. And then I just abandoned that and just got into production, providing production. And then
kind of fun that happens sometimes.
Yeah. What's funny is almost everybody I know who became an engineer, almost everybody who became a sound engineer or a production owner was a drummer. It's a weird thing. I don't know why, but it just seems there's something about that trait that attracts us to this crazy lifestyle.
Now that you mention it,
yeah,
I'm thinking about a few of the drummers I know. No, that actually
is a track. Hey, so when you started the show though, man, so you started venting and how'd you feel about just venting in the mic and just talking into the ether? It's like, did you expect anybody to listen to you or anyone to catch on to the show, or were you just saying, fuck it, I'm just gonna talk?
If I'm being completely honest, no, I'm still surprised people listen. And that's, maybe it's, some underlying, personal issues where but I still am like kind of surprised when I'll be just bullshitting with one of my online friends, and they'll be just, oh yeah, when you said this the other day, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot we met because you said you listened to my podcast. I forgot about that, and I've definitely made some for people I've never actually met in the real world. I've made some pretty good friends because of the show. Just again, and with the whole COVID thing, and like a lot of people decided to start podcasts because they didn't have anything else going on and they didn't have any way to talk to their friends. So
yeah, I feel like a lot of people who've been doing it as long as we have. Well, you've been doing it a little longer than I have for sure, but that we all kind of started based out of that frustration during that pandemic time. Right. Oh, yeah. And it was like, well, you know what? I realized I do have an opinion, and I felt like, to me, I don't know if you felt this way, because I felt like, look, I'm hearing this jackass talk all this crap and offering his opinion, and I'm thinking, if this guy is famous in doing this, why can't I just offer my 2 cents on the subject? Why not? Why not me? And that's why I started doing it. I was like, I got some stuff to say too, and I always felt like a lot of people, like the talking heads that are in my space, like you're kind of in the same thing. You do like the news and politics thing a lot, like news commentary, politics. I don't think that's your entire show. I know you talk about other things, but
yeah, it really wasn't. That wasn't the original intention.
Yeah,
it seems to be what's at the forefront of my ire every time I sit down in front of the mic.
Kind of gravitated that way, huh?
Yeah, it was a natural progression kind of thing.
Well, I found a lot of these talking heads were just really, to me, living on the surface, man. They're just very surface level, not really getting deep about anything, and just feeding their pocketbook. Like I just felt they're saying things because they know it's getting a certain reaction. That certain reaction is feeding their bank account. And yeah, and I wanted to go deeper. And then when I heard you, it's like you seem very similar, except you're not afraid to go, that's bullshit. No, this is what it is. This is exactly how it is. And I heard your show a few times to where you even mentioned, like, at one time, not to get too polarizing or rah team whatever, but you lean more Democrat, and now you're kind of, I think you're more center, but you're just not afraid to call people out on their shit. And sometimes you lean a little more right, but how do you feel about this whole right versus left bullshit, to be honest?
I think it's fucking retarded.
Yeah.
To be completely honest. And yes, I still say fucking retarded, but
hey, bring retard back.
Yeah, exactly. We're taking it back.
That's right.
Because it's like the meme says, retard is not what you say to people with legitimate medical conditions and handicaps. Retard is what you say to your friends when they're being fucking retarded.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the way it is. But I'm going to say you're right. I am definitely more centrist, and honestly, I always have been. It's just in my younger days, I was more left leaning central based on the standards of the time. Most of my core philosophical beliefs have not changed much. You have to change a little bit, because if you're not changing and growing, you're dead. Whether you're actually in the ground or not, you're not living if you're not evolving.
No, I agree with that.
So yeah, some of my stances and beliefs have changed, but like I'm a gun guy. I've always been a gun guy, even when I was considered more liberal, because I don't care if you're gay, straight, bi, poly, any of that shit. I don't care. It never bothered me. I've got gay friends. I have a friend who I just refer to as a massive whore, because by his definition, he's polyamorous. I'm like, dude, you'll fuck anything that holds still long enough. That's not polyamorous. That's non-discerning.
You're just overly horny.
Exactly. I'm like, you're horny. You're not some, unique snowflake of a fucking character. You're just really hornied up. And he's still my friend. I'm not, it's not a matter of judgment, like you're a bad person because you like humping. No, I get it. I question some of his choices, like, just have a little self-respect. Like, really, that's ew. But if he's happy and his whatever he's hopping on is happy, I don't care. It doesn't impact me. He's not touching my junk, so I don't care.
Right.
That used to be considered a very liberal stance. Like, oh my God, you're not going to judge that guy for liking another guy. I don't know. They make each other happy and they're both adults. Who freaking cares?
You know what, Aaron? Isn't it crazy how that became something that was akin to politics when in fact it's really like our generation, I think. Like you're a Gen X or tail end of Gen X.
Yeah.
When we grew up, that's literally just what our generation thought. It's like, who cares? And I get so tired of waking up, looking at posts on X or at the news. It's a little different now that Trump got elected, but it's still there to where this whole sexual preference / identification warfare bullshit. It's like everybody thinks that people like you and I, like today, they're considering us MAGA hard right? You people like us.
I must be MAGA because
that's our label now, right?
Yeah.
And they think people like us are waking up every day going, fuck that gay guy. Who am I going to mess with today? Who am I going to go yell at today? And reality is like, people just don't realize it. We don't care. We just don't care. If that's your preference in your life, great.
Yeah.
If it makes you happy, man, just don't push it on me. It's fine.
Exactly. You do you. And I mean,
but it doesn't mean we can't be friends.
Yeah. It doesn't mean we can't be friends, except for the problem is you don't want to be my friend because I don't care. And you equate me not giving a shit with me somehow judging you and not validating you. And let's say I can get a little soapboxy here for a second, because I was actually just thinking about this the other day. Again, because the post I saw on X, and it was one of those things where I read it and I started to type out a reply. And I realized, even though I'm one of those people, I pay for X because I believe, not even necessarily that I was like, yeah, here, I'm going to be a big Elon fanboy. I did it because I do believe it's a better platform for free speech. It's not perfect. None of them are. There are biases. There are still, algorithms.
Well, you can definitely create an echo chamber if you're not careful.
Oh, yeah. But I also wanted the extra character limit. I got tired of having to do like, here's my post, one of ? And having to go on and on and on. So I was like, you know what? To me, it's worth the extra $8 to not be able to have to make multiple posts to get my point across. Not that anybody ever clicks the read more when I type stuff. I guarantee they don't, because nobody cares. But
right.
But I started to type up a response to this post I saw, and it was one of those like, a week after Trump was inaugurated, and they're, oh my God, they're going to take all our rights. They took away the other identities on our passport form. And I went, you know what? I have a thought that you're not going to like. Let me start. And I was like, okay, first off, this person is probably going to get 9,000 replies to this. So the odds of anyone that actually needs to read this, reading it, become infinitesimal. And also I was like, this is a whole lot to do with my thumbs, because I am still of that mindset. And I think this is more of an our generation thing, where it's like, I'm still sitting there going, in the back of my mind, I hear a voice going, nothing worth reading has ever been written using only your thumbs. And I know that's no longer true, but I mean, I spent years talking shit about everybody who texted on a regular basis. I'm like, you know what? I have a phone in my hand.
Yeah.
You want to tell me something? Take the 3 seconds, call me, say, here's what I got to say, and then hang the fuck up. I don't care. We don't have to have a conversation. Just tell me what. I'm not going to sit here and, again, going back to like, when we had just 9 buttons on our phone, and yet 1 1 1 1 3 3.
Yeah,
1, 1.
I hated that. That. Yeah, the precursors to what we have now that's considered text, like the generations after us have no idea the struggle, to be quite honest.
No, they don't understand why we hated texting when it first came out.
Yeah, there was a legitimate reason.
My kid brother had a 2-way pager. And to me, that was the dumbest thing on the planet, because the only other people who could use that were other people with 2-way pagers.
Exactly.
I'm like,
made no sense.
This makes no sense. You're thumb talking again.
Yeah. Like, so your post, you decided, did you post a response, or you just decided it wasn't worth it?
Because again, it just got way too long-winded, where I was just like, you know what? I don't feel like typing this whole thing out. But I had a thought, and it's actually very pertinent to what we're talking about here right now. Because like you said, with our generation, we didn't care. We didn't judge anybody for being orientedly different or identifying different. We didn't care. I mean, I have a friend who in 1997 was cross-dressing on a regular basis. Good dude, gay as the day is long, liked wearing dresses. I didn't give a shit. I'd see him walking down the street. I didn't go, oh my God, that dude's in a dress. I'd be like, what's up, Steve? Nothing. I don't care.
Yeah, who cares?
It's irrelevant. If it makes him happy, it doesn't hurt anybody. He's not, walking around with his junk hanging out. He's not embarrassing anybody. Who cares? He likes a dress. I don't care. And to us, that was normal. That was a lot of progress from like our parents' generation and the kids nowadays don't get it. Grandma and grandpa were judgy as fuck kids. I hate to tell you that.
Yes.
But we were not so much. It was just like, I don't care. It doesn't impact me. It doesn't directly affect my life. It doesn't hit my bottom line. I don't care. And at some point, because that is realistically, that's acceptance. That's not, when you're foregoing judgment because it doesn't directly impact your life. That is pretty much the definition of accepting something. Acceptance stopped being enough. And that's when we started to lose the narrative.
I think our generation didn't care because we were kind of the generation where let's just be honest, parents weren't that involved. It was more like, we're like, hey, come back when the sun goes down, right? And it used to...
Street lights are on.
Yeah, right? It used to be that way. And so we had to interact and find others to connect with and get to know people. So I think that's probably where that attitude came from, because we actually interacted with each other, and we realized like, yeah, we're all human. We're all similar. Like
we're all people who are just trying to live our best lives. Who cares?
Exactly. Yeah. I'm gonna touch on something about X though, because the thing about X I've noticed is, everybody is a professional. Everybody's an authoritative figure on every single fucking subject. And I read some of these things and I do a lot of research on my show. I do. I will do some deep dives. And when I see a post, I'm like, that's not right or exactly right. And the thing I hate about X is like, I know I could, like you probably just went through, I know I can respond, but this platform is not necessarily the place to be able to respond and get your point across, because there's so much more to it. Like it involves an actual conversation. And when I've tried to engage people to get into a debate or at least have an open conversation, their response is, I'm going to block you and run away. Like they don't even want to deal with you.
I found out recently when they changed how the block feature works. I found out there are several people I've never interacted with ever that have blocked me, and because I go to follow a link on a post from somebody else that made a comment, and then it's like, oh, here, let me go check out this person's profile and see more about them before I either lay into them really hard or maybe I'm actually interested in their perspective. This account has blocked you. You cannot interact with their posts. You can still see their posts. I'm like, oh, fuck me running. Okay.
Yeah. What did I crazy?
This person.
Yeah. Or I'm not gonna get too big in this because honestly, there's a lot of communities that talk about this BS, but you'll find out later, like it's not outright, but you can tell when you've been muted by larger accounts. So like, for example, I could put a post that maybe has a couple of hundred. I've done some that have a few thousand responses, and then I could respond to. I don't even give a shit what they could do to me. Like Gunther Eagleman, for example. When I first responded to him, I would get some decent traction, and then all of a sudden, I don't know what I said, but now if I'd make a response, I'll get like five impressions, maybe 20, and it's like it doesn't make sense. And basically, what I'm trying to get at is people's need for instant gratification and affirmation of their thoughts, just to look like the authority or the hero, I think is a real problem in today's society. Nobody wants to be challenged. Nobody wants to have the conversations. And even when you present the facts and data, they still are in disbelief. They're still in disbelief.
Yeah, it doesn't fit the pre-drawn conclusion they've come into the conversation with. So it must be wrong, or you must be lying, or your information must be false, or you're just insert topic of the, like, you're the phobe, you're the ist, you're the it, you're the whatever.
Yeah.
Because God forbid you come to the table with facts. And I agree with you. Conversation is a lost art these days. We've lost the ability to disagree with people without. People are so tied up in these notions of this is who I am, this defines who I am, this is what I am, that anyone that holds a differing opinion or a different thought is seen as an attack, as opposed to just somebody that sees things differently. And since people view this as an attack on their personhood, I feel like they've lost the ability to not even necessarily be objective, but to hear dissenting and discerning opinions, because again, they're taking it as a personal attack on them. Well, you don't agree with me, so you must hate me. It's like, what? And I don't know how we got to this point where it's that, because to me, that's an utterly ridiculous way of looking at life. And that's probably why I'm a lot happier than a lot of younger people are.
Yeah.
I've seen polls like people in the like 21 to 27 age bracket are all miserable. And I'm like, that's because they get butthurt by the dumbest shit. You know,
I agree with you. It's
I mean, you can not like me or what I say all you want. At the end of the day, since I'm not sleeping with you and you don't sign my paychecks, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and like I said, that's just why I'm happier than most people in their 20s. It's not because I'm in my 40s and I've finally managed to amass wealth and happiness, because I promise you I haven't. The other thing, I picked an industry where it's really hard. I mean, you can do okay, you can be comfortable, but it's really hard to get to that point where you're like, yeah, I'm good now.
And it's hard work unless you become like one of these rock star chefs who happen to break out, and get all the glory and fame that comes with it. I've met a
few of those guys.
Yeah.
I have some stories.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, a couple of them I could probably get sued if I brought them up.
Of course. You work with them, you guys sign NDAs and all that?
Oh yeah. I actually, most of the like name chefs I've met have actually been pretty cool guys when you get them outside of outside of that like public persona.
Oh, that's good.
I've interacted with some of these guys just through, big events, things like that. It's never been like hey, I'm Aaron and you're here to work with me and it's going to be cool. It's more like, oh no, you're here as this celebrity face and I'm just a grunt, but how you treat me is going to tell me all I need to know about what kind of a person.
Absolutely, man. I've always appreciated any famous person who never forgot their roots and they can connect with you.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I got a couple stories then, because I'll name these people. So I remember when we provided production for the Misfits one year, and Jerry Only, and I remember that guy's dude. That bass stack was ridiculous. I didn't have to put it in the PA. I'm not gonna lie. And so fast forward, this is what happened. So this was like, I'm going to say maybe a year and a half. I meet this guy. I'm just a production guy. Like they see me all the time. Guys like me, right? Here today, gone tomorrow, whatever. Move on to the next show. And so I'm working with him, and somehow I do not know how, but he remembered me. So I go to. You ever heard of NAMM?
Yeah.
Okay. So NAMM over in Anaheim's like the big musical instrument conference show. All the manufacturers. Yeah. So I go there, and I'm walking. And I got my passes, and my dad's with me. He's a musician. So he was with me, and we're walking and checking stuff out. And all of a sudden, I just hear someone yelling my name. I'm like, who the hell knows I'm here? I'm looking around. And it's Jerry Only. He was at a booth. And he saw me. He's like, hey. And I'm like, how does this guy even fucking remember me? And then I go over, and he goes, come here. And he kept waving over. I'm like, hey, how you doing, man? He goes, Modesto. Because I live in Modesto, California. I go, yeah. And I go, how do you even remember that? He goes, get over here. And he kicks these guys out that he was talking to, and he puts his arm around me and takes this picture. I'm like, holy shit, that was really cool, man. And there's some guys who are like that. Another guy was like that was Ronnie James Dio, same thing.
Yeah, I've actually heard that before. That he was a really cool guy.
One interaction, vague interaction, by the way, not like I got close and personal with the guy, but somehow remembered my face and was kind of like the same way. And there was a few other guys like that. So that totally changed my perception of some of these guys. But there are the ones that are complete assholes, man. And they let the fame get to their head. But it's good to hear that you had that experience with some of these chefs to where they're like offline. They're like, yeah, I get it. They were just regular people.
It's like in Chicago every year, they got the National Restaurant Show. National Restaurant Association has this big show, fills up the convention center. It's like 4 days. And I haven't been to it in several years just because whether it was like I couldn't get the time off work or just like the passes kept getting more and more expensive. And I was like, if work's not going to pay for this, I'm not freaking going, because it's an industry show. It's, new products, new companies, existing companies, food vendors bringing out, new product.
Kind of like NAM, but for your industry.
Yeah, kind of. And it's a big thing. And like back in the early to mid 2000s, it was an entirely different creature. It started changing just because of society shifts and stuff like that. But like when I was in culinary school and a young man, it was like every single booth had some sort of liquor at it. I mean, it was really leaning into that side of the service industry. It was, I mean, there were lectures, there were conferences, there were breakout sessions, teaching sessions, there competitions, ice carving competitions, stuff like that. The ice carving team from my culinary school was there competing one year, and like my school had a booth there, and I worked the booth one year just so I could go to the show for free, and then I hung out at the booth for like 45 minutes, and then I spent like 3 hours walking around the show doing shots at every booth. So, and yeah, good times, And I had a driver that day because one of the instructors drove the bus from the school to the conference center. So we, I was like, yeah, I don't have to behave. As long as I'm not falling down, I'm straight. And
right.
And it was a good time. Like there'd be like pan manufacturers, knife manufacturers, and I got a $900 set of chef's knives for like $175 because I went on the last day of the convention and just offered the guy money for the display. I'm like, look, I know what you're doing. You're going to sell all this shit so you don't have to pack it up.
Yes. That's exactly what happens at these trade shows.
Yeah. So I love the trade shows because I would always go on the last day of the show and just clean house. I would leave with like the bed of my pickup truck full of shit and I'd be out like, maybe a couple $100.
Yeah.
But I'd be walking out with display pieces of, like kitchen gadgets and like cases of like sample products and packages of individually packed fruit snacks that it's a new flavor of fruit snack we're going to be bringing to market. I've got 600 of these in the back of my truck on the last day of the show. So some poor bastard didn't have to load them up.
Did you ever see any celebrity personalities go to some of these vendors and just kind of like get stuff for free just by throwing their name around?
They would show up at like I'm here endorsing this. You're on a fucking show on the WB. Why are you here at a food show? You know what? I don't care. How you doing? Nice to meet you. And I've done that multiple times because again, part of it's just me being me, but I don't get starstruck very often. I've met a couple people where I'm just like, holy shit, this is awesome.
Yeah.
For the most part, I'm just like, dude, you take a crap first thing in the morning, just like all of us.
Exactly, man.
Not special. Everybody poops.
Exactly. I agree with you.
So I just, hey, how you doing? And honestly, I've probably gotten a lot better reaction out of most of the people I've interacted with that are celebrities because I don't treat them like I'm not here to kiss your ass. Hey, how you doing? You're a human being just like me. I'm not gonna tell you you're special. I'm gonna treat you equivalent to how you treat me.
I agree. I found that when you just treat people equally like people, I think they appreciate that because full disclosure, I had a sales rep company for many years now in the musical instrument professional AV industry. So I was a rep. I had a rep company, and for many years I had to go to NAMM. I haven't been there since 2007, thank God. But I was a PV rep. I was an Orange Amp rep. I had so many lines that we represented. And I remember that I got to know some people, got their cell phone numbers. We stayed connected and they were just down to earth, man. Really cool. But I got a funny story. The reason I asked you about the vendor thing is because I remember at NAMM, because you're talking about, at the last day of the show, everybody they don't want to take their shit home, right? They don't want to pack it up, pay for shipping. So I went to this booth. I don't even know if they're still around. They're Factory Metals. They made like these. They're kind of like cymbals, more like sound effect stuff made out of metal that you would hit with your stick. And I was at the booth, and the guy was talking to me, and he was going to give me a couple of things for free, and I had to buy a few things. We just hit it off. And then all of a sudden, this is great. I never forgot this. Carmine Appice, or Carmine Appice, however you say his name. Do you know who he is? So he was a drummer for Blue Oyster Cult for a while. He played with Ozzy Osbourne on that Bark at the Moon album, all that. Yeah. And his brother's Vinny Appice, who played for Sabbath and Dio. And so Carmen Apiece comes over right next to me and I'm talking to the owner of this company. And Carmine just stands there with his entourage. He's like chewing his gum and he's looking at these things. He's picking it up and he's pulling the whole I'm a rock star persona. And the owner keeps looking at him and he looks at his staff behind him like, hey, go talk to him. And the whole time they're trying to talk to him and give him the pitch, he's just like tapping it. He's all looking around and then he started asking them like, well, you know, what would what would it take to for me to get a set of these, like whatever. And they start pitching price to him, right? And check this out.
No.
He looks at me. He looks at the owner. He turns. He has sunglasses. He grabs his bridge of his glasses, pulls them down, and just looks down at the guy and just stands there. And the owner looks at me. Looks at Carmine Apiece, and he just goes, "Here, just take what you want." I was like, "What the fuck?" He just pulled that move on him, and he's just like, the owner caves like, hey, whatever we have, just go ahead and take it. Just take it.
Yeah, I've actually seen stuff kind of like that with maybe some of the smaller companies at the restaurant shows. But the thing about the restaurant shows, you got to figure you're getting like these big national producers who also have like industry lock. You know, I mean,
yeah,
you're not going to the McCain's food booth and impressing them into giving you some free shit just because of your name, because literally 90% of the like potato products in the country are coming from this factory. So it's good luck. It's a little harder to get those guys, you know, because they already have contracts with their celebrity endorsements. You're not just gonna come and be like, hey, look how important I am. Give me free shit.
Oh, I saw it all the time at NAM. It didn't even matter who you were. I mean, when you're a rock star, you're a rock star. It was
that's also a little different. That's more practical because, you know, no celebrity chef is coming in and walking out with like a 2,000-pound mixer on a frickin' dolly at the show. There's not a lot of stuff you can conveniently, you know, because that's where the real money in that stuff is at those shows is the equipment.
Absolutely.
It's not it. I mean, all the other products and pitches and all that other stuff, and you get little, you know, like there was, you know, people that make, you know, glow in the dark ice filled shot glasses, and you know, I mean, all kinds of random crap. But you know, at the end of the day, the ovens, yes, the smallwares are nice, but it's like I said, I got a $1,000 set of knives for a couple $100, and it, you know, yeah, maybe they would have given them away to some celebrity chef for free. But at the end of the day, that guy doesn't need it. He's got a knife contract and he gets all the free shit he wants already.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's just crazy. I mean, it kind of also, it also hits on like I've heard you talk about this on your show, how society values, like how they value certain individuals, you know, for just
for existing.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not a fan of that either.
Isn't that crazy?
It actually goes to one of those negative influence type situations where I did have a slight run in with a celebrity chef, who, like I said, for the sake of not naming names, because
you don't have to tell us the story though.
I'm just like, it's one of those things. It's like, it makes me sound like I'm being kind of petty, because it's like, dude, who the fuck are you to cop this attitude with this guy? But the thing is, I'm me, and I would have copped the same attitude for the circumstances at hand with any other person. And this guy doesn't get a pass for being famous. And objectively, I don't like to tell the story and say who it was, because he might've just been having a bad fucking day, you know? Yeah. Because it wasn't like an arrogance, pompous, like, do you know who I am kind of situation. It was just kind of being a prick. And under the circumstances, we were working it was a concert / cookout / Guinness record attempt of breaking a world record for the world's biggest barbecue. Right.
Wow.
It was at the stadium where the Bears play in Chicago. And like literally the entire infield was all these separate barbecue companies, all cooking at the same time, all making, you know, different flavors of barbecue. And so there was literally hundreds of restaurants there with portable barbecue stations. And I was working at one of the barbecue stations, and a certain celebrity chef, I was running to go get some stuff from another, like the guy I was coordinating with who owned the place ran out of like buns. and he worked something out with another guy down like halfway down the frickin' stadium, like halfway down the frickin' stadium. And he was like, I take him these 4 gallons of sauce, and he bring back 5 flats of buns from him. And so I'm running through the frickin' stadium with 4 gallons of fucking barbecue sauce, which is it's not light. I mean,
No.
it's like a 5-gallon pail of barbecue sauce, which is like, I don't know, 50 some pounds. So I'm running with this pail, and I happen to run into this guy. And I didn't even actually run into him. It was like one of those close calls where you're like, oh, Jesus. And he's like, watch where the fuck you're going, man. And I was like, excuse the fuck out of me. I'm like, maybe if you weren't walking backwards, you wouldn't have run. I wouldn't have had to fucking veer to get away from you. Well, dude, you should be watching where you're going. You shouldn't be running through all these people. It's a fucking crowd of people. And I'm like, look, I know who you are. That's not going to temper my opinion of this at all. Maybe you should watch where the fuck you're walking.
Well, wow.
Whatever, dude. I don't even need to hear this shit from some punk kid. And I'm like, all right, you take that attitude and you run with it. And it's not like I'm going to be like, dude, I don't watch your cooking show anyway, because you don't fucking care.
Right.
You get the same check from the Food Channel whether I tune in or not. So,
I think I know who you're talking about. I got a good idea.
Yeah. So, and that was, but on the other hand, like I said, I've met some chefs that are really cool. Like I met some names like Paul Prudhomme was like, big time, well-known chef, had one of the original cooking shows on TV, just the nicest freaking guy you'd ever want to meet. Just real. I mean, I met him a couple of years before he passed, just down to earth, fantastic guy. I met him at the food show, and he was there and he was working a booth and signing his cookbooks and stuff. And that's not where I met him. I met him like he was coming back from the bathroom, going back to his booth, and I just ran into him. And he was in one of those little mobility scooters because he wasn't getting around real good at the end of his life. And I was just like, oh, hey, chef, I don't want to bother you. I don't want to keep you. I just want to say, I've got all your cookbooks. I watched your show growing up when I was a kid. You're fantastic. Thank you. I love what you do. And I wound up talking to this guy for like 40 minutes before he went back to his booth. And I was just like, what a nice guy.
Very cool.
But I mean, the funny thing is most of my actual real horror stories are interactions with like celebrities from like not in the industry, for every, because meeting guys that are in my industry, we all kind of, with a few exceptions, we're all cut from the same cloth in a lot of ways. We've all got a certain degree of respect for anybody that's been in the trenches.
You know who my worst interactions were with was not necessarily celebrities, because with a certain celebrity, you kind of expect, that kind of treatment. So I've learned to like, whatever. The worst ones for me were the CEOs of the large corporations, because when we do the events, and they think they're just like the ungodly, do whatever the fuck I want rock stars, and it's like, okay, when I'm getting, how would I say this? This isn't who the company is, but let's just say Samsung, for example, just because it's a big name people know. I'm not saying this was what actually happened, by the way, but let's just say like CEO for Samsung, like, who the fuck's this guy? Shitheel trying to put a mic on me. This fucking guy, he's a piece of shit. Like, I don't need to talk to you. Like, waves you away and then calls their assistant. And it wasn't Samsung, by the way. I'm just using that name. So just to give people an idea of like, okay, you're dealing with these large corporations. These CEOs think that they're gods because everybody bows down before them at the company. But it's like, bro, outside of that, you're nothing. I hate to tell you that, but like you're not.
Exactly. I mean, you're not a world builder. You're not a rock star. You're a suit.
But yeah, that's been my more negative interactions have been from those types of people than actual musicians.
I worked in downtown Chicago at a private club for several years. And it was two sets of people. It was old money, and like the Dailies had memberships there. I mean, everybody knows Richard Daley and Mayor Daley, and I mean that's even people that are not from the Midwest I find are familiar with that particular name but I digress. But then we had there were the old money guys, and then there were like day traders, because we were right in the heart of the financial district, and a lot of our a lot of our members were stock market guys. And we had 2 degrees of stock market guys. We had the guys that had like literal fuck you money. And then we had the guys that were like coked out and scraping to get by and wanted to feel more important than they were because they were paying, $1,200 a month to belong to this club.
Yeah.
And those guys, and none of them were bossed here. None of them were, I run the trading house. I own the trading house. No, they were just floor guys. Some of the most arrogant pricks I ever had to deal with. I had one guy, literally the only time he ever came into the dining room at the club was on days where there were member events and everything was free. So and he would come in and then he would talk shit about the food. He would make 3 or 4 trips through the buffet line or whatever the case was, or order, 4 or 5 plates of whatever was on special that day that was the free member item, and then talk shit the entire time he was stuffing his face. Oh, the chef here's a piece of shit. The food here's crap. I'm like, well, you don't have a problem shoveling it down your gullet all fucking day.
Yeah, right.
And at one point because he was extremely fucking drunk, and one of the other members was also very drunk, and the other member kept saying, I don't want to drink anymore, and he kept trying to force drinks on the guy, and the bartender was kind of like, I don't know what to do. What do I do about this guy? And I said, you know what, I'm the manager on duty right now. He's fucking cut off. He's done. Don't serve him anymore. And he's like, who do you think you are? I said, I think I'm the manager on duty. I think if you really have a problem with it, look up what they call dram shop laws and understand that I am doing my legal duty by refusing you any further service. You are inebriated beyond the point of being reasonably accountable for your actions. And subsequently, if you had any problems from this, I could find myself liable if we continued to serve you, and we're not going to. He was like, well, fuck you, you fucking prick. I don't know who you think you are, but you're fucking done. You are so done. I'm going to have your fucking job. And I sat there and okay, get it all out.
Yeah.
Come on. Tell me I'm a worthless piece of shit. Tell me how much I suck. Tell everybody what a shitty chef I am and how far things have gone downhill since I took over this place. Go on. Come on. And I mean, the guy hated me to begin with for other reasons, because when he tried acting like he had clout, I just didn't.
You weren't feeding the fire.
No, not at all. Like, he would do things like, occasionally he would wind up on TV because he would try to get interviews like, oh, no, I know financial stuff. I'm important. And this is when a lot of stuff was going on where like trading houses were getting shut down and people were losing their jobs, and like there were massive layoffs in several of these trading houses because there was a big scandal going on. And he wasn't one of the people that was affected by it, but he was still trying to, he got the local news to come in, and he shows up with like a camera crew and he's like, I need to set up in the dining room. And I said, did you clear this with anybody? And he, well, no, but I told them we're going to set up here because that's the best background. I said, we open for lunch in 25 minutes. The staff is resetting the room right now. You didn't arrange this. You didn't talk to anybody about it. You don't have authorization to do it. So you're going to take that camera crew and I'll put you in one of the small conference rooms. You're not setting up in the dining room. Well, I told them this is where I don't fucking care.
Yeah, he can't interrupt your business like that. That's stupid. Inconvenience to other members. Let's circle back a little bit. Let's get back into what your show does here.
Okay.
And the rant and the raven, and I like it. It's great.
Well, as you can see, it's just kind of natural for me. It's
that's okay. So I heard one of your more recent shows when you talked about how you were a Democrat. Now you lean a little more right, even though you and I already established this is just Gen X. It's just who we are. Like
who we are.
Yeah, exactly. So, that being said, how do you feel about the administration now? Trump. I mean, I know I voted for him. Did you? I think you did.
I did vote for him. I actually. Are
you getting what you thought he would do? Like, is he coming through in his promises? You think?
I think he's delivering a lot more than I expected. He's definitely trying to stick to what he said he was going to do. I mean, he's getting fought tooth and nail.
Big contrast from like 2016, right? From his first term.
Huge contrast.
It was like he was trying to figure it out, and then he was just getting led the wrong way.
I was going to say is he didn't get where he is in the world by not learning, and he made a lot of mistakes on that first run through. And I'm not going to lie, I talked shit pretty much consistently from 2016. Well, actually, from 2015, before the election was over, like from the announcement of like, these are the candidates. And I've never ever for a single second been a fan of Hillary Clinton.
Nope.
Not at all. And
Me neither.
so there was like literally no way in fuck I was going to be voting for her. But at the same time, I was looking at Donald Trump as the guy from The Apprentice.
Yeah, I think everybody was back
out
then.
of here.
Yeah.
I like, and when the election was called and they declared him the winner, I put a post on Facebook that said, I have a lot of thoughts and feelings on the matter. I'm not going to get too deeply into it, but we ran an unlikable, unelectable candidate, and we ran a guy from reality TV. And frankly, this country got what it deserved for because neither one of them was the right pick. And I still stand by what I said at the time. Now, to give the man his credit, like I said, I think, and I've been watching him in the intervening time since his presidency, he did a lot of things I didn't agree with. He did some things I did. I didn't agree with a lot of his cabinet picks. I didn't agree with a lot of the way he handled things. I thought he surrounded himself with people that were not going to help forward the agenda he ran on. And it is what it is. But he learned from his mistakes, and he's been good for that. The people want to talk shit like, oh, well, he's filed bankruptcy this many times, and he said in an interview, he says, that makes me smart. I'm using the laws that are on the books to my benefit. If you don't do that, you're an idiot. And that's kind of, I feel like how this second term is going to go. I think it's a little early in the game to make any calls about it. He's only been in office for 3 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's too early to say, but I like the indicators. I voted for him not because of him. But more because of the people he brought to him. The people he was bringing to the table appealed to me a lot more than just him by himself. And I do believe in like an America First stance. We can't take, I've said it a million times, I think at this point, we can't take care of the rest of the world when we don't handle our own shit first. And that's from a national standpoint all the way down to individuals. You can't help someone else if you're busy falling on your own fucking face. If you don't take care of getting your own house in order first, you can't help anybody else.
I can't understand why people are offended by the sentiment of America First, or how MAGA became like, just what MAGA stands for, like Make America Great Again, how that became something negative.
Yeah, I don't get it either. It's like, why is it a bad thing to want to see the country you live in, the country whose well-being is directly impacting your life, be successul?
Well, I think
why is it bad to prioritize us?
I think as far as politicians go, I mean, just the takedown of what's going on with U.S. aid in and of itself probably speaks volumes as to why people are not liking it. The American First sentiment is really about them first, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think of that? What do you think of that? Like the whole
I think it's
team.
Well, that they shut down USAID. Now, how are they going to teach Palestinian goat farmers to use the right pronouns when they're throwing people off of roofs?
Right.
I mean, they're spending literally millions and millions of dollars on programs for people who don't want them, to teach them things they don't give a shit about, or to enforce values that they don't align with.
Yes.
And so, we need this to spread the LGBTQIA message in Tanzania, so we need to put together a musical with a puppet with AIDS.
I mean, what? I mean, and if you look at that, if you're not realizing that is all just literally just money laundering.
Oh yeah, no, it's none of it's above board.
Oh hell no. But it's crazy that it's.
Well, and the thing that kills me is it's like, this is what they chose to launder it as. Right. I mean, color me crazy, but if I'm going to be laundering money in the tens of millions of dollars, I'm going to at least try and make it sound believable. This is for tech innovation research on a new form of battery, and we need to explore new mineral rights. That sounds like something that might cost $10 million. Well, $10 million to teach pronouns to people who have a gender-oriented language doesn't make sense.
And before this whole Doge report, I remember a couple of years ago, I brought this. I'm going to be off on the number, but I believe it was the administration back then I was doing some digging way before where we are now that the government was going to allot like 7 million to Pakistan for gender studies.
Yes.
Like stuff like that is like, why?
Huh?
It makes no sense.
Things like that would come up in the, well, I actually stopped digging several years ago because I was infuriating myself to like the point where my blood pressure was getting messed up.
Well, it's our tax dollars, man. I'm
looking at our tax dollars, and more importantly, I'm some schmuck from Illinois. Well, I mean, I'm from Wisconsin, but that's a whole nother conversation. I've lived here for 20 years. I still don't claim this fucking state, but ultimately, I'm some schmuck from the Midwest that has a show with tens of listeners and a bad attitude. Why am I looking into these things I can't do anything about? I don't have again, this may be a defeatist attitude. This may be part of the problem is that I think about things this way, where it's like, and I was looking, and I'm like, why are we studying the effect of cocaine on dolphins?
Right.
For starters, they probably appreciate it. And second off, no.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, we're giving dolphins blow. They're already probably smarter than us because when's the last time you saw a dolphin with a checkbook? I mean, they're intelligent creatures and they don't have bills.
Yeah.
I mean,
my wife tells me the same stuff sometimes. She goes, well, what's the point of everything you do? I mean, sometimes she'll say, what are you doing about it? And I'm like, point taken. I get it. Like, what am I individually doing about it? There's only so much I can do as an individual. I think the reason I do this and the reason it's important, like people like you do this, is because you never know who is going to receive the message.
That's kind of what I tell myself is somebody might hear this.
And if enough of us are hearing this message and I think at some point, look, we already seen it with the elections. It's obvious. People were fed up. Yeah. They knew that everything that was going on was bullshit, and Trump got the vote. And it wasn't by a small margin, by the way. It was huge. The country wanted a shift and they wanted a change, and a lot of that came from not legacy media, but independent media, right? Like podcasting all of a sudden became even bigger in influencing what was going on with the election. Just because podcasters in general aren't afraid to call it how it is. Like they're just going to say whatever's on their mind. Most of them. I mean, we do have some corporately controlled podcasters out there, but for the most part, it's still kind of the Wild West.
And in a lot of ways, that's very true. Plus, occasionally you get people like me. I'm not monetized. I mean, it's it's kind of funny. I still every once in a while get like a little notice from Spotify, like, you have $11.
Thanks.
Because
right.
For a while I was running ads and I was like, okay, but at the same time I was like, this isn't worth it. And because I would like listen to my own episodes just to, which is ironic because I hate doing it. I hate listening to my own episodes, but I wanted to make sure they were like uploading right and, and posting properly. Cause there were a few episodes I had where it was like, somebody would DM me at like, because I set them up to new episodes post at 7 a.m. Central Time. So I would be like in the gym getting like before I went to work, and I'd get a DM from somebody like, bro, the entire episode's static.
Oh,
fuck. or the sound file got corrupted.
Yeah, I've had that happen on Spotify before.
And I'd just be like, oh, shit. Well, I can't fix it until I get home from work tonight. So sorry.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was listening to my own episodes I just actually started posting them a little earlier so I could listen to them before I left for the gym. And I'm like, and I started realizing like these random ads are just breaking up the flow. It bothers me. And the payout's not worth it to me. So I'm like, meh. So I just stopped running them. But I did run them for like 6 months or whatever. And for whatever reason, the old episodes still get plays. So, I mean, I don't know if it's like new people finding me and going through the back catalog or just somebody's randomly picking up episodes. But so every once in a while I get that little like, your Spotify balance is $8.
Earl, thanks a bunch.
Well, that's the thing is like, I cashed it out the last time it got to be like $45 or something. And I was like, okay, cash that out. I'm done running ads. I don't. And then, like I said, every now and then, like, oh, hey, guess what? You're back up to $7.
Well, I think it's important you bring this up because there's been a shift. Like people are trusting independent media personalities more and more. Whether it's guys like you and me, or people who are more established in terms of their popularity. Regardless, I always try to support the independent community, especially in podcasting, because we're the people who give a shit enough to dive a little deeper and dig up the shit that most people don't, because they don't want to kick the hornet's nest. We're just like, we got nothing to lose. We're not beholden to anybody. We're just going to come out and say it and present the information.
Exactly.
And mainstream media can't understand why they're losing the trust of the public. It's because they're not doing what we're doing. They're not being actual journalists. Not that I'm claiming to be one, by the way. It's just we're not afraid to like say, look what I found, and regardless of what you say, here's the data to back it up, and here's the web links, and here's the books, and if you don't believe me, go ahead and prove me wrong.
Here's my sources. Find something better. Find something more accurate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I that's one of those things too. And again, you mentioned earlier Whiskey Hell.
Yeah.
Those guys are phenomenal when it comes to running down things, getting their information, getting their facts together. Fitz and McShane are, they like I said, they're good dudes.
Yep.
And they're on their due diligence. If they're wrong about something, they will retract it. They will admit they were wrong, which is another thing that like legacy media doesn't do.
True.
They double, and like there's a gal I went to high school with, and I'm not sure if she's still there, but for a while she was an editor at the New York Times. Doesn't speak to me for multiple reasons, but when I found out what she was doing for a living, through just a Facebook group, that was like a bunch of us that went to high school together, and she made some comments in there, and I was just like, you know what? No, I can't let this slide, and da. So I just, I gave her both barrels, and basically called her out and said pretty much exactly what we're saying around. Now, there's a reason nobody trusts you people anymore. I'm sorry you wasted your career and your life by going into a dying media but I have no sympathy for you, because you people are the reason that it's dying. You stopped being journalists, you started being shills, and that's what you got coming.
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
But the funny thing was, she goes, "So you're still an asshole then?" I was like
yeah,
I am.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. But I mean, yeah, no, I'm the exact same prick I was back in the 90s.
Well, in the point you're making earlier about, you took the ads out of your show because you're like, I don't want to interrupt the flow of my conversation and information. And when you're talking about, hey, I'm doing all of this work, and guess what? I got $8 for my efforts. I don't think people realize that guys like us, like the independents, we're not making a living off of this. We're doing this because we want to do it, and we're trying to present.
I lose money on this every month.
Yeah, we're trying to present the case of no, this isn't right. This is why it's not right. Like, we're not just saying this is bullshit and walking away. We're saying this is bullshit because, and this is how I came to this conclusion. So I totally believe that what you're doing, we'll bring up Whiskey Hell, guys like them, even my friend Kervin, who has This Week Explained. We're kind of just doing the deep dive stuff, or at least not accepting what's on the surface and just presenting it. And I think that's why people are trusting independents like us more. And even those who aren't independent, like even Joe Rogan got very popular because he wasn't afraid to talk. I think what his strength wasn't necessarily his stance on things as a person. I think his strength was, I'll talk to anyone and let's have the conversation and see where this goes.
He actually has conversations with people, and he will learn and change.
Yeah. And I've learned a lot by doing this. I don't know if you feel that way, but being forced to first off, come into this with opinion, and being forced to correct that after you've done your research. And then while you're doing it, I get to talk to many people, like you and other experts. And it's like, oh, I'm smarter for it. It's forcing me to learn. It's forcing me to become a better person in terms of how I take in information and view things. And so I think it's really, really important that you keep doing what you're doing because, while people just might hear it as a rant, you're also presenting a lot of really important opinions and facts. And it's kind of like a rapid fire, like, okay, here's the fire hose, open your freaking ears, and I'm going to just open the spigot. Here you go. And
yeah,
but that's not a bad thing, and I like it. And I think a lot of people need to, come around to just accepting that, look, your way of life and how you look at things isn't the only way to do it. And you need to broaden your horizons and take in other viewpoints, opinions, and even, especially those that are backed by data. And then take that in, and then maybe you might find that, hey, I'm looking at this the wrong way. I think that might be one of the problems we have with the U.S. at this moment is we got to get back to that. We got to get back to being objective and hearing other people out and not just being so like, here's my pom-poms. I'm going to cheer for my team. And no, I don't care what you say. No, I like Team X regardless. It doesn't matter. And that's just stupid.
Your side's wrong. You guys suck and we're awesome. I mean, no, that's boring.
Yeah, it is.
That's the other thing too, is I think somewhere as a society, we lost that. We lost the appreciation for like development, for growth, for learning a new thing. People got complacent. They're just like, no, I like this. This is what it is. And this is how it has to stay because this is familiar. This is comfortable. This is safe. And, it can be kind of scary going out there and hearing a different opinion or learning somebody else's beliefs or somebody else's thoughts. But like I said, I mean, you kind of need to do it because if you don't, your stagnation is death. I mean, I keep coming back to that. Maybe it's just because, we're getting older and getting a little morose, but
yeah,
like, you got to keep moving and that's, you got to keep moving or you die. I mean, and that's not just yes, societally, culturally, individually, but I mean, even people, like if you look at old people, like Congress, when you get past a certain point, you stop moving, you stop acting, you stop learning, growing, changing, keeping your mental wits about you, keeping your physical body in motion. I mean, you start to deteriorate, and you'll see that with, and again, maybe I'm overly focused on these things recently just because of things that are going on. And, my parents are getting older and I think about these things in terms of them. And it's like, for being older people, my parents and like my wife's parents are still pretty active, and they're keeping busy and keeping their minds sharp. And because I remember when I was a kid and seeing people and hearing, oh, like that guy's 65 and like the guy looks like walking death. Oh my god,
that's changed a bit now, huh?
Yeah. Now my parents are in their late 60s and wait, I got a math now. Okay, early 70s. My parents are in their early 70s, and and there's like. My mom and my stepdad just got back from a cruise to Alaska and, they went hiking in the freaking wilderness in Alaska. And my dad lives in like Bufu, northern Wisconsin in like a Unabomber shed in the middle of nowhere. And like, he just cut down a whole damn tree last week. I mean,
damn. But that's
now granted, but I stand by the statement that I think my father is probably one of the hardest people I've ever met in my life. I mean, he's a great dude. He's a wonderful human being. He's like actually this kind of like biker hippie guy from this, like from the 60s. He's a for real hippie. But he's also this big tatted up biker who looks intimidating as hell. But, he likes to go out and garden and play with his dog. And I mean, he's just the most guy until he's not. And then it's like my brother and I used to joke when we were kids, like, I don't know, but if he ever has to go in a home, you're doing it. And I'm like, the fuck I am. We're paying somebody to put him in a home. I'm not getting involved in that shit at all. I'm terrified of that old fart.
Man, everything you said is a great example.
He's 70 and I'm still terrified of him. So
yeah, everything you just said is a great example of what you said earlier about, stopping and not continuing to grow, and stopping leads to death, because it does. And it translates literally in the physical aspect. Like you said, when you stop moving, your body deteriorates. It's not being used. Very, very akin to anybody who has a desk job for a living. Like you see them get into their mid 40s and they're already starting to fall apart, because they're not using their body. So
yeah, that's
a very true statement that plays out in the real world, not just a theoretical statement.
And that's the thing is people don't actually make that equation. Like even the ones who acknowledge like, okay, I have a desk job, so I have to go to the gym after work, or I have to go to the gym before work.
Right.
I have to move. I have to stay physically active to stay healthy. You have to do that with your mentality too. And
yes, I agree with you.
People take that for granted. They're like, they don't. I mean, yeah, we have brain teasers and puzzles and things like that, but that's not the only aspect of mental exercise. I mean, like I'm a not as much as I used to be, but I've always been a pretty voracious reader. I mean, I'll knock out a 600-page book in a couple of days.
That was me. Yeah, definitely. I love reading.
Yeah, I mean, I
fall asleep now. I'm not gonna lie.
No, that I was gonna say that's the problem. Is I still love reading. It just takes me a lot longer to do it now because it's like. And part of that might just be the getting old and the physicality of the last 25 years catching up with me, where it's like, yeah, it used to be I would run on 4 to 5 hours of sleep, pretty much every day, and then like if I got sick, I would crash for like 20 some hours, and then the first time that happened, actually, it was kind of funny. Right after my wife and I got married, I got sick for the first time. Where after we had been living, because I never used to get sick very frequently, and the first time I got like legitimately sick was after we got married. We'd been living together for like 2 years, and I'd never like even really gotten a fever or anything. And then I got legitimately sick one day, and I was like at work, and I was dead on my feet basically. And my boss called my wife and was like, "You need to come get him. I'm not letting him drive home. He's wobbling on his feet." And my wife's like, "He's not drunk," or that's right. What she goes to. She's like, "He's fine. He hasn't been drinking or anything. What's going on?" It's like, "No, I think he's sick. Like he's very pale and he doesn't look good." And my wife came and picked me up and drove me home. And by the time I got home, I took my temperature. I had like 103-degree fever, and I was just really not doing well. So I drank a half a gallon of Gatorade and laid down on the couch, rolled up in a blanket, and went to sleep. I don't remember any of this, but she told me so. Like 13 hours later, like the next morning, she couldn't get me to wake up, and she was starting to freak out. Like I was still breathing. I was just snoring peacefully in my sleep on the couch. Hadn't moved all night. And basically comatose. And my mom happened to call because it was right before Thanksgiving. It was like 2 days before Thanksgiving. And my mom called to just, "Hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah." And she's like, "I'm really kind of worried. I can't get Aaron to wake up." And my mom said, "Did he get sick?" And she goes, "Well, yeah, he was running a fever yesterday." And my mom's like, "Was it around 102.8? She's like, "It was almost 103. And she's like, "How long has he been asleep?" And my wife tells her, "Well, he went to sleep as soon as he got home from work. It was like 4:00, and I went to check on him at 7, and he's still asleep." And my mom like does the math, and she's like, "Okay, so that's like 15 hours. He's gonna wake up around noon. He's gonna be really hungry, and he's gonna be dehydrated." And she says, "If he doesn't wake up by 1:00, then you can call the hospital and call an ambulance. If he doesn't wake up by like 1." And sure as hell, about 11:15, I popped up off the couch like, "We got any food? Make breakfast?" And she's just looking at me like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm fine. I feel great. My fever broke. I'm good. I'm hungry and I'm thirsty." And I like we get bottled, not the 5-gallon jugs of water here because the water where we live is shit, and it's very full of heavy metals and shit. So I pay for water. And so I went to the little water cooler thing and I filled up like a 64-ounce mug that I have. And I drank 2 of them right off the bat. So I literally drank a gallon of water as soon as I got up.
So you just sweat it all out.
Because it was all wrapped up in the blanket.
Yeah.
And my wife's looking at me. She's like, "Your mom was right." I was like, "When did you talk to my mom?" And she's like, "Well, she called this morning and I told her I couldn't wake you up. And she said, if it's been less than 20 hours, I shouldn't be freaking out because that's what you do when you get sick. And apparently your father does the same thing." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I've only seen Dad get sick twice in like my entire life." But yes, that's what happens. We go to sleep. We go into a coma for like a day, and then we're fine.
Huh.
And so, yeah, that just totally freaked her out. And
that's crazy. I
forgot where I was going. I forgot the point of that story.
I don't know. Got a little sidetracked.
Yeah, I'm not. I tend to do that.
That's okay. It's all good, man. Well, let me see. Shoot, it's been. Yeah, we're going over an hour and a half.
Yeah, I tend to do that too. By the way, I should have warned you.
No, I'm fine with it. I'm good. I was just gonna say, I want to keep going, but let's. I think you and I should stay in touch and probably do this again down the road if you're cool with it.
Oh, definitely, dude. This has been fun. This is a good talk.
Yeah, look. There's nothing wrong with just being yourself and just riffing, and I think this was great. It was good for. I think it was good for you, and I wanted to introduce you to my audience. And I like what you do, man. I love your rants.
You ever want to come on my show too? I mean,
I'll do it. I'm good.
I want to get back. I did guests for a while, and then I just kind of got away from it just because every time I tried booking something, somebody something came up, somebody went wrong.
It's hard. It's hard.
So I just kind of got out of it for a little while because I was like, I mean, the guest episodes are fun, and I like doing them. My audience. I mean, my listeners listen to the guest episodes too, and sometimes they find new stuff. But on the other hand, I was also, for a while, I got kind of paranoid about it because, like, it was like during the big pod fade where, a lot of the COVID podcasters stopped COVIDing or stopped podcasting because all of a sudden they went back to having lives. Yeah. And it was like, right. For a while, it was like every time I had a guest on, the show died like 3 weeks later. And I'm like,
people were just overwhelmed with it.
Maybe I'm the problem. Like, these people come and talk to me, and then they realize they don't want to do this shit no more.
Oh man! Hey, tell everybody where they can find you. All that information real quick before we sign off. And
for sure. Let's see. I can be found on any and all of these podcast platforms by putting in I Had to Say It, and you look for a screaming gorilla with a microphone, and that is the right show. Otherwise, you can go to ihadtosayitpodcast.com, and there is a show there there's links to other shows I've interacted with, guests, people that podcasts I like, things I recommend. It's just kind of my own little thing where it's like, it's a landing platform. It's got ways to contact me. It's got, like I said, but I see it more as like, here's a bunch of other shit you guys should check out because I think it's cool, and I think you'll think it's cool too. I mean, it really is kind of like my little like, hi friends, look at this stuff because I look at my shiny rocks. It's things I found that I think are cool and I want to share with other people. And so that's really what's at the website. I mean, yes, you can find me, but more so, you're going to find a bunch of shit I think is really cool. Other podcasts, other shows. There's the links to the usual stuff like the Buy Me a Coffee and the Patreon, and which I'm kind of excited. I did the math the other day. If I can get 4 more Patreon subscribers, my Patreon will be a break even, which will be awesome. Because I'm like, but on the other hand, I feel bad. Like, I don't want to take money from anybody. If you want to, that's great. Because like I said,
look,
not you for that. I'm using the royal you, not the specific you. But
oh no, I was gonna say, look, I look at it this way. I think people should hear your show. I like how you support other independent podcasters because, like, when you go to your site, you do list some independent people that you recommend, which is great.
Although I do need to update it because, like I said, there's a bunch more of those kiss of death people on there. I need to move from the active section to the inactive section. It's just it's hard for me to keep up with it because, honestly, and half the time I forget the website exists.
Well, I'm going to say
it's not that I don't update it. It's just that it's like I update like, oh, here's new stuff. I don't go, you know what? I need to prune some of these people because that part is like sad and I don't want to think about it. I'm like, no, shiny new rocks.
Well, when you're independent, you don't have a staff to do all this. So it's like, you got to find time in your day to do all these updates and, like you said, edits and whatever. But
look, and my boss keeps getting mad at me when I do the stuff at work. So
I'm going to encourage everybody to listen to you. And I'm going to say it. I'm going to say, listen to Aaron's podcast. Listen to I Had to Say It. And if you like him, by all means, buy him a fucking coffee. Just give him a little something for his efforts. So listen, man, thanks. I'm going to have to end it. I think you and I both need a break after a long day here, and appreciate it. And yeah, I'll stay in touch, and I'll definitely be on your show. Not a problem, man. Let's connect after this.
Yeah, for sure. We'll set something up. We'll have some more ranty and some times.
All right. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it, my friend. Well, as always, thanks for listening. And don't forget to follow, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications for World Ablaze. Find us on our website at www.worldablaze.podcast.com. And don't forget to follow me on X at Fonts Ablaze.